Welcome to the Arsenal show. We are live. It's the 14th of November and Steve has his Christmas tree up. I know. It's crazy.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Balmy. If anyone
Merry
else
Christmas.
has got their Christmas tree up, let us know in the comment sections. I will also call you out as well. Ludicrous behaviour. Ludicrous. 1st December minimum.
Bar humbug. Scrooge.
We've got Melv joining us today. No, it's not Tiny Tim, it's Melv. Good to be back, Melvin. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. I'm getting ready for Easter, actually.
Exactly. If you're in the comment section, if you are watching already, make sure you join us in the comment section. Make sure you get involved in this live as well tonight. We've got plenty to talk about. First and foremost, the Burnley win. A 3-1 victory against Burnley. Shouldn't have really conceded, but we dropped off a little bit, very slightly. It started off wasn't the easiest of games at the start, but that was mainly because I have to give credit to Burnley. They defended very well. But then it wasn't, to be fair, it wasn't even once we'd scored. It was once they'd scored. That was when Arsenal started to spark into life and they really started getting going. Steve, what were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, it was a good win. It was 3-1. It's always good to go into an international break with 3 points. If you get anything less than that, especially against a team like Burnley. You've got no pun there, Wayne Rooney. Sorry about that. Not a very good start from the Scouser there, is it? This so far, but I say it wouldn't have been good. So I was well pleased with the win. Mainly at first, but it wasn't a good start. I was like you kids. I was a bit frustrated at the way we started, but again, like you said, you can always say that Burnley set themselves up well. Every sort of Vincent Company side, you got to expect that. But we got the goal, good goal. Very good cross from Zinchenko. Had a really good game. Saka rising like a salmon. Like you've never sort of seen him do that before, but got to the ball, and Trossard, who also had a good game, put everything on the line and put it in the back of the net. And and like I said, it was a little bit disappointing after that, letting the goal in. Geezer getting sort of round us. Tommy Asu, I thought, was absolutely outstanding on the day. I thought he was brilliant. Was he a little bit weak? Could he have been a bit stronger for the goal? I did have a little bit of that fault, but at the same time, he did look like he stumbled a little bit. So I'm not going to take anything away from his performance on that, because I thought he was absolutely excellent. The rest of the defenders were brilliant as well. Gabriel Saliba, Zinchenko was outstanding through the whole game. And then we went up there literally seconds after scored the goal, and then Zinchenko obviously finished it off with an excellent finish, bicycle kick with a third. So look, it was a good performance. I thought Jorginho, he was absolutely outstanding again. I thought last 4 or 5 games, I think he's up there with the best number 6s in the league. I just really do think. I think he's so underrated, and I've still seen him even today, like Arsenal fans giving Jorginho stick. I thought he was close to being my man of the match again for Arsenal. But look, he was good. It was a bit disappointing that we ended up going down to 10 men. I mean, that was stupid from Vieira. On another day against a better team, that could have cost us. I mean, Havertz didn't have one of his best games, but Vieira come on and done absolutely didn't do nothing, and he got sent off with a reckless challenge. So and he's been good this season, so that was sad to see, and hopefully he'll learn from that. But 3-1, good performance. As I say, not many players you could say had a bad game, and now we can relax a little bit until the next game. So pleased overall.
Melvin, you saw the game. Do you feel that Arsenal are any more fluid since the last time you was on?
They're only more fluid because they've got Trossard up front instead of Eddie. I think he really makes the forward line move better. He interchanges with pass and movement. That's a positive. But the rest of the game, we were so slow. It took me back to the when it went from the right back to the centre half, the left back to the centre half. The amount of times we could have had 98. I don't know what it was, 98% of the possession first half. Then got in their penalty area about 3 times, really. It was very, very hard to watch. 3 points are very, very important. But I think we've reached the stage now where we want to win every game, but we want to win it with a bit of style. Than we did that last season and the season before in so many games. But we're not doing it. We're not even in second gear. We're in about first gear still. And there's so many players that haven't quite got it together. And it runs through the whole team. Because if you've got, a couple of guys not quite feeling it, then they're not looking for the ball. You see, the thing is, going back last year, everyone was looking for the ball. When one Arsenal player had the ball, you had 10 or 9 or 10, if you include the goalkeeper, looking for the ball, calling for it, running into space. Here, we were so static. If you looked away from the ball, there was no movement. And that's so disappointing. And it makes it easier for teams to defend against us, obviously, as it would have gone with any team. So it's a bit of, and then after say 5-10 minutes, when you're not making any headway and you just got the ball at your feet the whole time, all of a sudden you get more nervous because you don't want to give the ball away because you've done nothing with it, so you don't want to lose it. So I thought, I know I've also Havertz, I thought, had his normal game. I want him to do well, of course I do. I'm looking for good things. Every time he makes a tackle, or he's very good at closing people down, but that's not what we bought him for. Let's be honest. And how long we got to wait for this guy to go into second gear, really? I mean, I watched the Chelsea game the other day, Chelsea Man City, and Palmer was off the radar. And he's been playing well from all season, in all fairness. Now, Chelsea sold us Havertz, bought Palmer, and made 20 million profit. Let's think about that. That is good business from Chelsea, isn't it? It's a shame.
Well, different positions, different players. But I see where you're coming from. There is definite frustration, it sounds. But the thing is, you mentioned about last season and the season before, and it was definitely more open, more expansive. But we didn't win the league. And the previous season we came 5th when we tried to come 4th. So there was definitely some things that needed to change. So I understand the fault of, yes, we looked more fluid last season. It was more entertaining. But is it not important that we get the results? Like last season, we didn't beat Man City. This season, we beat Man City. Last season, we didn't beat Man United this stage of the season. This season, we beat Man United. So I completely understand, because it does feel like when we're talking about how we played last season, I know that you're not just talking about what I'm seeing. It feels a bit disjointed. It feels like sometimes we're not going to score because we're not as open going forward, not as direct going forward. So I do understand that. But I do think sometimes we are looking for last season's play when we didn't win the league was last season's play. And when you actually look at it, we was actually quite far off the league. Compared to what Arsenal are normally, no, we weren't. But we were, in the end, City could take their foot off the gas because we weren't going to win it with, 2-3 games left. So I can see that he's trying to change it. Maybe he's gone slightly too far on the other side and he needs a bit more balance. And we may have seen that potentially in some of our European games. What's your thoughts, Steve? What is it that is not quite... I don't want to talk about last season, but what do you think it is that needs to slightly change to make us a bit more exciting going forward?
What can change? Well, I mean, I think the main reason why we're not looking as fluid as last season is for 2 reasons. I think for one reason is that Mikel Arteta's doing exactly what you've just said there. You know, he's brought in different personnel, and these players are different from last season, and he's trying to play a different way. I do agree that last season there was times when we was going 2-0 up, 3-0 up, or or we was leading in games, and we was just so at the back. We were so poor, and we give the times we used to give the ball away, and let teams back into the games was too many, was too much, and I think Arteta's seen that, and I think these way of sort of like, counteracting that and not making sure that this don't happen that season is to play a different way. And that way is a more possession-based football. It's a more slower-based football. It's building up more, from the back. So it's you're going to have the ball, probably see the ball more in the sort of like the defensive half of the field more, because we're playing out from the back a lot more. As we know, and that's why someone of like Havertz has been brought in, because he's someone who, like Melvin said, he is very good at holding up the ball. He's very good at running into spaces. He's very good at playing the ball off. He very rarely loses the ball. He's strong, and I think that's what he wants from Havertz. And I think, but some fans want from Havertz, they want him to go and score every game, and they want him to assist every game, but that's not what you're going to get. That's not why he's been brought in. He's been brought in to do a different job. I mean, people keep comparing him to Granit Xhaka, for instance. I think I said the other week. I mean, did Granit Xhaka score a load of goals and loads of assists? I don't think so.
Not until last season.
Not until last season,
where he got 14.
Not until last season, and Xhaka has been at the club 6 years. So I think we've got to get Havertz time. I do think he's trying a different way. I mean, a lot of people last season, especially at the beginning of last season, were calling Man City boring. Oh yeah, they're all right, but a bit boring to watch, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Where they play it around, it's slow, and then they just the slow build up, and then they just bang and score, right? And they never get beat. Well, I think Arteta wants to do that. But we're at the beginning of it, and our process is a lot slower, and we're building up to that, and that's where he wants to get, to eventually. But the trouble is, we're doing all that, and so he's brought Timber in, Timber going out, who's good for that, for the way he wants to play, and going forward. All of a sudden, he's out for the whole season, so that makes it a little bit awkward for the start. And look, let's say it for the fact, a lot of Arsenal players won't say it. Up until a couple of games, Odegaard, Saka, and Martinelli have been pants. Or that's unfair. They've not been pants, but they have been nowhere near, as good as they are last season. And I've seen people say, how can that be? It's not Havertz's fault that Saka and Martinelli and Odegaard have been way off it. Now, if you imagine those three players on form, right, or getting close to the way they was last season and scoring more goals and making more assists, then I guarantee you we would be saying different. But I think a lot of it's down from Secondly, Martinelli and Odegaard have not hit full form yet, and we're trying out a different process. I mean, Saka even against Burnley. I mean, I thought the first half Saka against Burnley, I thought he was brilliant, and the in the Champions League game, he was outstanding, wasn't he? We spoke about it, and we were saying how great it is to see Saka back. But again, the second half against Burnley, he was rubbish. I didn't know he was on the pitch. Do you know, again, great first half, poor second half. But it'll come. It'll come. I do believe that, obviously, we know how good Saka, we know how good Odegaard, but they're not there yet. Odegaard's been pulled out, a little bit similar. Has he got an injury or ain't he? Bits like Gabriel at the beginning of the season. Has he got an injury or ain't he? Maybe they're just not up to full fitness yet. The only problem with like Martinelli's, he ain't played every game. Saka plays every game because we just literally haven't got no one else. But I think it'll come. But it's been a sort of like a combination of those things. That's what I think.
All right. Mel, Steve mentioned Jorginho played very well the other day. Why do you think this? I wouldn't say it's split. I'd say the majority of people rate Jorginho. But why do you think there's still a section of Arsenal fan base that are not buying into what Jorginho does?
I think he's a very good footballer. I think he's a very clever footballer. He's also underrated some of the through balls he does going forward. I think he's excellent. But where he gets found out, in my opinion, is if he's chasing back and he's in that defensive midfield role and the ball gets played behind him or a football is going next to him to go past him, he finds it difficult to keep up with the player or make that tackle. But no, he's a very, very good footballer. But the only trouble is you need people around him. And I think that, with all due respect, Havertz has not done it. He's the guy next to him sometimes, not only Rice, him. And he doesn't know his role, really, and that's the way it is. But to pick up on Havertz, though, just for a second, on Saturday, Rice took the ball off one of the captain of Burnley, and we had a 3v2 situation 30 yards from goal, and Havertz didn't know what to do with the ball. He sloppily gave it to Trossard when a harder pass where Martinelli was running through was the obvious pass, and he just didn't do it. And that's with nothing playing in the wrong position. That's just someone who's got no confidence in their own ability. He's got ability, no doubt, but he just hasn't got confidence. But going back to what numbers he play?
20, is it? Jorginho?
20, yeah, 20, yeah, Jorginho, 20. Yeah, he's all right. He tidies up. He does his job. He's quite commanding. He's a decent player. Would you play him every game to win the league? I'm not sure. But, only once has he ever let us down. So that's a good thing. Yeah, he's a good player. He's good to watch as well. As I say, just sometimes when our backs are against the wall, like they were hate to say it, on Saturday, they were 3-1 up. We panicked the last, 10, 20 minutes. We were just kicking it off for throw-ons again. I thought we were playing like the top team side in the league. And we were like holding on 3-1 up at home against Burnley. It was like, no, play football. You've still got 10 of you on the pitch. And they just didn't do it. They seemed to just lose it a little bit. But no, Jorginho, he's a good player. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, very good player. Very underrated. I just see some of the comments under a couple of posts I've seen. I'm sure these people don't watch football. Steve, we saw goals from Leandro Trossard, who has been nothing short of outstanding in the last few games. Possibly one of the best buys Arsenal have had in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I'd have to see a list of that. List of the last 10 years. But yeah, look, for value for money, I mean, absolutely, mate. You're probably right there. He has not let us down at all since he's come to the club. Yes, he's had a few bad games, just like anybody else has. Yeah, exactly, like everyone else has. Yeah, he's one of these players who, he's gold dust to fans. He's gold dust to manager, because he probably won't want to be labelled with this, but it's very important if you're going to go and win titles or win leagues or trophies, that you have a top class, a match winner on the bench. All the top clubs have got them. All the trophy winning sides have got them, whether it's the Premier League or any other league in Europe, and that's what Arsenal needs to have. And Trossard is one of them. He's like Alvarez, if you like, who can come on. You could be down 1-0 or do you know what I mean? Or you might be drawing, and you might want to go out and win the game. And if you see Trossard coming on, you think, right, you can rub your hands together and think, right, he can come on, he can get us a goal, he can do something a bit magical. And Arsenal haven't had that for a long time. Not for a long time, and that's special on its own. But he's also can start. And yeah, look, there's the argument about him and Eddie. I see Melvin's point that when Trossard is up there, he has got that. He is a little bit more technically gifted than what Eddie is. But that's what you want, isn't it? You want headaches. You want headaches. Eddie's good at certain things. But yeah, I mean, Trossard is that little bit cut above, I would say, sort of probably, Eddie. Trossard, again, he's probably, he is a bit of an all-rounder, and sometimes that probably goes against him a bit. because like then they, because maybe in the back of Arteta's head he's thinking, well, I can just what a player to bring on after 30 minutes, but. Certainly when there's an injury to Jesus and Nketiah or whatever, or maybe not Nketiah. I mean, there's not, he possibly could be starting in front of Nketiah, but he certainly can come in and do a job. I mean, his goals and his assists last season and obviously this season. Massive player for Arsenal. Absolutely enormous players. We probably need Yandy to have another couple more like him. If we can get him in January, like a Neto, someone to help with Saka, and is he someone who will get a regular start? It's tough. But there's no argument. There's an argument to say that if he's there sometimes instead of Martinelli, you're not worried about it. If he's playing up front, you're not worried about it. It all goes. It's an headache because you bring in a striker, like everybody says, we want a striker, we need another striker. And then what do you do with Jesus? What do you do with Trossard? People need to think about these things. You can't just hang these people out to dry. Or maybe unless they're happy like Trossard, and he seems to be happy sitting on the bench. Would Jesus be? I don't know. I doubt it. But top quality, mate. Absolutely top quality. Belgium international. What can you say?
I think it's a fine balance with Trossard. He clearly wants to play, which is part of the reason why he left Brighton. But I also think he also wants to be a part of it. If he's not playing, he wants to feel like he's going to be a part of it. Melvin, you said you'd start Trossard up front. Would that be your starting lineup if Jesus isn't available? Is to start Trossard with Martinelli and Saka up top?
I probably would, but the strange thing is that he seems to have his best games. I think Steve might have touched on it when he comes on as sub. I don't know why, because the other teams are a bit tired or what, but he seems to. There's no pressure on him. It seems when he comes on as sub. When he starts, sometimes it's not great. But just to add to him, I mean, he's two-footed. He's got a very, very good football brain. He knows what's around him.
Yeah.
You very rarely see him put a pass into nowhere or not nowhere to go or run into four people without realising it can go the other way. He's got and he can pass a short ball. He can do a long ball. He can run past players. He can dribble. He's tenacious. I mean, he is a fantastic, he ticks a lot of boxes. And really, the best thing you could have said, when he first came in the side, he looked like an Arsenal player, if that makes sense. From the kick off, he looked terrific. Yeah. And he's just a very, very good player. Yes, it doesn't always come off, but he's trying all the time. It must be very difficult to mark him because he's a live wire, and we need to think people like that. People are running to space. And for me, it's a great signing. And I think he's very happy if he has to not play 3 games, and then it so happens he plays in the European game, he did the other night. I think he'd miss a couple of games to play in that. He'd never have got that at Brighton, right? Yeah. He's in front of 60,000 people on a Champions League night under the lights. I mean, who wouldn't want that? And I'm not saying that he's giving it up, but if he has to balance it all out, not playing all the time for Brighton before he fell out with the manager, or playing 45, 55% for the Arsenal, I think I know where he'd be happier.
Yeah, I think like we've spoken about Jorginho and Trossard. I mean, change out 40 million for both of those. When you look at what both those players have done, since they've come to the club, and the way they've conducted themselves at the club, since they've been here, and the way you both of them give them 100% every single game, and they do not moan whether they're sub, whether they play. You've seen Jorginho when he ain't played for 6 games. He's a fan, isn't he? He's running on the pitch when his goals scored. Do you know what I mean? He's such an influence in the dressing room. That's worth 40 million on its own. Just to have players like that, and again, Belgium international. We forgot to say Jorginho's been called up for the Italy squad again. This week for the qualifiers. Just says it all, mate. And 40 million for the two. Amazing, absolutely incredible. Okay, go on, mate.
Do you think Arteta's been clever with his selection, or he's been quite lucky due to injuries?
No, I think he's been clever, mate. I think he knows. I think he's known exactly what he's doing. Some people have said, I mean, the Jorginho one. I mean, has he been lucky? Did he want Caicedo? And he's played, and he's gone and got Jorginho for 10, 12. It seems a little bit.
Not really with the Caicedo or the Mudryk one, because look, they're the best failed transfers I've ever seen. I wouldn't even want to go back now. Like, no, I would not want to go back and spend 80 million on Mudryk, and I wouldn't want Caicedo right now. But Partey's had his fair share of injuries since Jorginho's come in, and with the option of left mid or up top, Trossard's been able to be available when Eddie's been out, or Jesus has been out, or even Martinelli's been out. So is he been lucky, or is this would he have managed to do it anyway?
I think he would have managed to do it anyway, because the way Arteta's like what he, we've heard him speak on many occasions, Arteta and what he wants. What he wants to do with this Arsenal side and, take it forward, etc., etc., etc. And players like, Jorginho and Trossard, they're players that you can, that every sort of title team wants. Do you know what I mean? Even if they're not playing. So if you do get injuries, for instance, if I'm Arteta and I'm looking at the Arsenal side, I'm thinking, okay, I've got this player, and this player, but I still want top internationals on my bench. So if Partey gets injured or Jesus or someone gets injured, I want to bring on top international quality. And if I can do that, fantastic. And he's obviously gone out there. I think he knew Jorginho before, from before. And Trossard, he's obviously spotted from afar and seen what he's done at Brighton. A lot of people have always had a lot of good things. I think Liverpool wanted him at one point, didn't they? Arsenal wasn't the only club. And I think he's used his due diligence here. Do you know what I mean? He knows what Arsenal need. If you want to, he's been at Man City. He's seen players like, sometimes Gundogan, Foden, players like this, Grealish, who like have to sit on the bench. Stones sitting on the bench. Even in Liverpool won it. You had like Origi on the bench, Jota on the bench. Sometimes incredible players sitting. You had these big players sitting on the bench. You've got to have big players, and I think Arteta knows that. And I think the signings of Jorginho and Trossard, sort of would sort of register with him that this is what I need. This is if my main men get injured, I need players like him to come in. So I think he's well clued up with it. I wouldn't say it was lucky. I think he knows exactly what he was doing. Obviously, you've got to to be lucky in the sense that you've got to get the club to to come. You've got to convince the players to come to the club. There's always a little bit of luck there, but I think he knew what he was doing with these two. I think.
All right. Melvin, we saw Zinchenko get an absolute weldy on the weekend, but his performances recently have been a lot better. Do you think the pressures of Tomiyasu pushing him out of the team has given him a little kick up the backside defensively?
I think so, but I still think that I don't know if I said it here or wherever, but I think he's a fantastic midfield player, Zinchenko. I don't think we need to play him at left back anymore. We've got Tommy, who's terrific, he's actually expanded his game, hasn't he? He can move inside a little bit now. And also, you reckon it's all season, Steve? I thought it was up to January we might be getting Timber back. Is it all season?
Timber is back.
Is he? Back where?
Timber will be back before the end of the season, won't he?
Yeah.
The season.
Did it win just now?
No, I think he's back in March, isn't he?
Oh, was it as late as that?
Did I say that?
Late. No, Steve said end of the season. He won't be back to the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he won't be back to the end of it, to the back end of it.
Oh, I thought it was the new year.
To the end of the season, to the end of... No, I probably would have worded it after the season, next year.
Shame. I thought we were going to get him back. If we get him back in January,
He
then
won't be back in January.
No, well, that's a shame because we could have afforded to put Zinchenko in midfield because he's such a good player in midfield. That's where it all happens. You know, very rarely, even as a fullback, does he get down the side and cross the ball. He looks to go down the side, stop, give it inside, and have another little 1-2, and have a think about it. So if he plays in midfield, we won't be missing any of his attacking going forward. In fact, he's even better. That goal on Saturday was class. That was just pure class. That wasn't a fluke. He knew exactly what he was doing. It's one of those shots you don't normally see. And you can see when he gets the ball, you think, oh my God, he's going to get stuck here. There's two guys on him. He just turns, and the two guys are facing the wrong way. He's got that ability to think 3 moves ahead of everyone else. No, he's a terrific football. He makes a lot of space for us and gets us going. And when he's in full flow, it's lovely to see. I mean, I'd prefer him to be playing in instead of Havertz at the moment to play in that role because I think he brings so much to the game. Really good. And with Tommy playing at left back and Ben White playing at right back, I think that's a good team. I think that's a decent team.
Yeah, I think the thought process in Zinchenko being that inverted fullback is so that we've got that extra midfielder. Is so that those players can push forward. And we've got a midfielder essentially sitting in place of Declan Rice and will be sitting next to Jorginho. So then you've got 3 central midfielders that are more attacking. That I think that's the thought process for the inverted fullback. It's just that this season we've not been as direct or expansive going forward. But yeah, no, Steve, Zinchenko, lovely goal on the weekend, and he's finding form again as well.
Yeah, he has. Recently. I mean, he's struggled for form. You know, at the beginning of the season, but recently he seems to have the odd. For me, he seems to have a good game, a bad game, a good game, a bad game. But especially this season, not so much last season. But Zinchenko, you know, like Melvin said, when he's on it, he's on it. You know, I just sometimes his defensive abilities ain't great. Do you know what I mean? They're not great, and Tomiyasu's way better at defending than what Zinchenko does. But when Zinchenko's got the bit between his teeth, and he's able to sort of like control the game, by coming into that inverted midfield role, making up that extra man, so that then others can push forward. Mm-hmm. Then that's Arsenal at its best. I feel sometimes like, we have praised Zinchenko recently, and he is good, but I think the reason why he's brought Timber in, and the reason why he plays Tomiyasu sometimes against certain teams, is because, like, sadly, Zinchenko lacks defensive abilities. He is not great, and I think you might sort of see Timber maybe coming into that left back role with Tomiyasu at some point. What they will do with Zinchenko, I don't know. I wouldn't like him to be Arsenal's midfield player, like Mel says there. I don't think he could do it. He does give the ball away a lot as well. I've seen him in the midfield. He's much better when he's like when Arsenal were going at a team and they're on it. I mean, his best games this season were against Sheffield United and Burnley. What does that tell you? Tells you that we're on the front foot. We're attacking a lot, and Zinchenko can come into his own. I think once the season's going on a bit and Arsenal can get their fluidity going a little bit more, and Saka and Martinelli and Odegaard, can start to find some form. Mm-hmm. I think like we will have more fluidity, and the defensive abilities of Zinchenko won't matter as much. And he'll probably, but I think until then, I think I would rather see Tomiyasu as the left back. I thought he's been outstanding recently. Oh, don't know what happened there, but yeah, taking away all that, he's a brilliant player. I mean, he was also, crossed the ball for Saka's goal. For the first goal as well. He's been brilliant recently, but I want him to have that control. That against the better teams, I want to see that just a little bit more. Just needed to be a little bit better defensively. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Timber's back and what they do with Zinchenko, to be fair. But again, like I said, with like Trossard and Jorginho, you want players like that's why probably Man City had Zinchenko as more of a squad player type thing, because maybe if he can play, it's great. If he's on the bench, it's great. You've got someone who can come on and change a game. So it's what Arsenal are looking for, and I think that's why they bought Timber. I think we're blessed. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, it is a good thing. Look, I agree. I want him to be better defensively against better teams, but there's no reason why we can't do what we did last season and play Tommy in those games when you are playing a Liverpool, when you are playing a Man City, and you're looking to be a bit tighter at the back. I don't think we can forget that Zinchenko won 3, maybe even 4 player of the months last year, and those weren't all against rubbish teams. So he can do it. I do think it's a lapse in concentration sometimes when he has them defensive frailties. And although his defensive side isn't the best, I do think he gets away with it sometimes because, we defend as a team. He's just jockeying. There's no, and like you said, we're playing on the front foot. I agree as well. Once we get into the full flow of things, we should see a better, more youthful Zinchenko, and it would be interesting to see how he plays it out when we have got Ben White, Tomiyasu, Timber, and Zinchenko as options, because that's a very good options for fullback. Another player who's currently sitting on the bench and apparently he's very sad at the moment is Aaron Ramsdale. His dad actually came out and has dropped a few quotes himself, essentially saying how upset Aaron Ramsdale is at the moment. He says, "You just had to look at it personally. You're probably saying too much, but Aaron is going to be the cup goalkeeper, and David Raya is the main man. Unless something happens like an injury or sending off, Aaron's got to live with it. He's living with that, even though he's not been told it by anyone." Okay, so because look, so break down what his dad says. I understand he's speaking not on behalf of his son. He's speaking his own words of what he sees, the position of what his son's in, and he has every right to say whatever he wants. I think it's probably because Aaron Ramsdale's dad was quite vocal from the start, so people jumped on it. He's on the socials. So look, if it was anyone else's dad, I'm sure it just goes on the wayside and no one really notices. But obviously, you're a high-profile club like Arsenal. People are going to pick up on everything. But I don't expect him to be told that he's going to be a cup goalkeeper or going to be the main man, because I don't think psychologically that's smart of a manager to do. I don't think a manager should be going up to either of these goalkeepers due to the level that they are and saying that you're my first goalkeeper, you're my cup goalkeeper, because it's just what's the point in having any sort of stands in the team if you're going to openly say to the goalkeepers when there's 2 players going for competition, you are the main one, you are the cup. Just by playing him, David Reyes in his head will be I'm number 1. But I have to keep on my toes, because otherwise Aaron Ramsdale's there to take my spot. The moment the manager says you're my number 1, psychologically you are slightly more relaxed because you are the number 1. You've been told you're the number 1, and he's the cup goalkeeper. So I understand what he's saying there, but I don't think the manager should be telling anyone that they are number 1 or they're going to be the cup. Squads evolve all the time. Nobody's going to be there forever. David Raya has not pulled up trees so far. Let's say he's not going to, even though the way it's been done, in my eyes, it's been wrong. Aaron's lost his smile, and it's difficult for him for him there. Melvin, look, as I said, this is more people reaching for some form of something when it comes to Aaron Ramsdale. Aaron Ramsdale's not really speaking out about the whole situation. When he has, he's been very professional. He's spoken about it. He says, bring it. This is part of the game. I did it to Burn, so there's no reason why I should be sulking. And you're going to get journalists trying to reach out to all sorts of people to get some sort of quote or response. Maybe Aaron Ramsdale's dad should have just kept it stum, and he's clearly been baited out here. Are you surprised by any of the comments that Aaron Ramsdale's dad said?
I think it's very difficult. He was on a show last night. I think some of that might have come from the show he was on, the Highbury squad, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very difficult for a parent to talk publicly about his son, especially when there's a little bit of controversy surrounding his son's selection. I think it's a bad move for the father. I know that he's been on that pod a few times, and good luck to him, but I think he should have steered away from that. It's the obvious question to ask. It's like when a footballer gets sent off and happens to be interviewed afterwards, they go, do you think that was a good decision? What are you going to get? I mean, it's a stupid question. And I think really they should have spoken about the Arsenal, the defence, if you like, not specifics, like what we're talking about. And I think that it only puts more pressure on his son rather than less, because only listen to 5 minutes of it. And he was very complimentary about Raya, as you would expect, obviously, because if he didn't, then there'd be all hell.
Yeah, it'd be even worse.
Right? Yeah, much worse. And I think that I don't think he should know himself that he should be talking about the general club, because it's I don't think it's that clever. They can do what they like. He can be on any channel he wants. The channel it's a terrific channel, but really well hosted. Got Kevin Campbell on there as well. But I didn't put it this way. I believe in risk reward. No, it would have been, you could only have got out of that something bad by making a mistake. You couldn't have come out of that going, you know what? Glad I spoke about Ramsdale.
You'll get some cliche standard. What
only bad can come out of it, though, Kieran. You're not going to come away from that going, you know what? That was a fantastic interview about Ramsdale because I didn't know that, and this has come out. Or you can come away thinking, my God, I didn't realise that. What's Arteta doing? What's the club doing? Neither happened, I don't think, because I didn't do it all. But I think it's a bad move.
So
away from it.
Sorry, just to carry on with what you're saying there. Do you think that's a bad move from the podcasters, considering they're Arsenal fans?
That podcast
as Arsenal fans as opposed to journalists, or
I think it's a bad move from his dad. I think it was on both. It was bad for the podcast because it is something you want to talk about, but it's the wrong person to talk about with, in my opinion. And it's a fantastic podcast. Don't get me wrong. I'm not slating it. I think it's phenomenal. But I think perhaps they could have veered away a bit because, as I say, it only draws negativity, in my opinion, or could do big negativity. But, he's an honest guy, Ramsdale's father. I've seen him interviewed a few times, actually. He says what he thinks, and that is the problem sometimes.
I'll get onto that in a second. Steve, what's your thoughts on it?
Look, I agree. It was with Melvin. It was a bad move. I don't think I don't know the podcast, and Melvin knows it well, so it's a good podcast. Personally, from someone who don't know the podcast, is sort of like, would anyone who doesn't know it would turn around and think, "Well, I ain't watching that," especially because it just like what Melvin said there. It's just it's the perfect word that what he said. Melvin said negativity, and I'm seeing too much of it especially about Ramsdale and Raya recently from so-called Arsenal channels, stroke podcasts, who for some reason just want to, build up this negativity between Arsenal fans over certain subjects. I don't like it. You've known it from this show before. I've never liked it. For me, you get behind your players no matter what. You support your players, and I'd probably guarantee that most Arsenal channels at the moment I've seen. Well, I know they do because I've seen it. All thought like, oh, Raya, this, why is he coming? Poor Aaron Ramsdale, right? And you don't want to see that. If as an Arsenal fan, last time I looked, Raya was wearing a red and white shirt or a green shirt, whatever you want. So he's an Arsenal player, right? So I don't like that. I don't like it. But going back to it, so I think the podcast was wrong. Agree with Melvin. I think what Aaron's dad, coming out and talking about it. Look, we're all dads. Do you know what I mean? And we can definitely see the human side of this. Where we would see our son or daughter or whatever, going through this, and if they're suffering, you're not going to like it. But for me, you don't go out on YouTube channels and podcasts and talk about it. And I think, if anything, Aaron Ramsdale, if I was Aaron Ramsdale, I wouldn't want my dad going on a podcast talking, how I feel, what I'm like, I can't smile. Do you know what I mean? I personally wouldn't like it. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you, if the managers heard about it, I guarantee you this hasn't done Ramsdale any favours whatsoever with Mikel Arteta. Mm-hmm. These to me are just logic. So for the dad to should have had a little think about before he went on this podcast and started talking, right, about the ramifications afterwards, and how it would affect, Aaron Ramsdale in the long run. And you say he hasn't slagged off Raya, but he has really, isn't he? I mean, he turned around and said he hasn't been pulling up trees. That's bang out of order.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang out of order.
I didn't hear that last night, Stephen, in all fairness, but when you read it out before, Kieran read it out before.
Yeah, that is
up on that one. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
that's bang out of order.
It's
bang out of order.
Comment.
Yeah, that is like that's if you go on a podcast, you think I've got to keep calm, I'm just going to stick up for my boy, but deep down he's not really. Do you know what I mean? He's got the right up with Raya. Do you know what I mean? He don't like, but to come out with a comment like that, because it's the sort of thing we all do sometimes in life. Do you know what I mean? You try and keep you calm, but you can't. You have to dig a little bit. Do you know what I mean? So I think that was bad. I think that was out of order. I think it's done Ramsdale no favours whatsoever. I don't think he's in the long run. Probably his interview, with Ian Wright, and that's also done him no favours in the long run, especially with the manager. Yeah. But saying that, look, we all feel sorry for Aaron. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't done a lot wrong. The manager's come in. He's got every right to do what he's done. If he feels that he needs a goalkeeper, and he hasn't got to answer any questions to nobody, he's Arsenal manager, and Arsenal fans should just support him. But on this particular situation, Arsenal fans are going against Arteta because all you keep hearing about is Ramsdale. And although some people might say, oh, yeah, it's great, we're supporting Ramsdale, long live Aaron Ramsdale, this ain't doing the club no good whatsoever. And it ain't doing him no good, and it ain't doing David Raya no good, and it's not doing the people going on when they go on the pitch for confidence no good. So, yeah, I think it's I don't know what I agree with Melvin, with a lot of things that he said there, that I think this was the wrong decision to do what he did.
I'll get onto the Ramsdale interview in a second, because there's a pattern amongst the players which makes me kind of feel like I don't think that interview that Ramsdale did is going to have any adverse effects on his playing time personally, and I'll go into the reasons why based on other interviews that I've seen. But go on, Mel, what was you going to say?
I want to say just very quickly why fans maybe, I can't talk for all Arsenal fans, obviously, but why I think we've got this situation is that it's not as if we had Ospina in goal. Remember him?
Yeah.
And he's played for us, and then all of a sudden we got a chance of buying the Dinos off. And we've bought Dinos off, and we can see the difference. It's like chalk and cheese, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
We've bought two goalkeepers. With all due respect, as ability, pros and cons are very similar.
Yeah.
They're not great. So therefore, the manager's made a rod for his own back, in my opinion. If Raya is the most amazing goalkeeper and Ramsdale is good, but not quite that good, you can understand it. But there's certain things I think Ramsdale's better at, and there's certain things I think Raya's better at. You could probably tell us, me and Steve, better than we could actually see. You're a goalkeeper. So you would say, no, Melvin, Raya is definitely different class or whatever. I don't know.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. And I think it's part of that is the reason why people are so sort of connected to it, because they've seen Aaron Ramsdale, they've seen the impact that he's had on this team, how much he's helped this team get into the Champions League, and they feel that he should have played a part in that. On the flip side, you've seen David Raya come in. I thought the other day was very, very good. Made two excellent saves. So when you hear or see people make comments about either goalkeeper, a lot of the time online it's the extremes. Ramsdale was a liability at the end of the season. Ray's miles better. And it's like, no, you're not. I can't. So then people are quite passionate about that, so they're getting involved. And you're having arguments about two players in your team that are both very, very good, very high levels. So I think it's a little bit of that. People are seeing Raya and they like Raya and what Raya in the team. So they're fighting every tooth and nail to say everything good about Raya and then slam Ramsdale. It doesn't help. It doesn't help because they both play for Arsenal. If Raya's injured, you've got Ramsdale in goal. So what are you going to say? This geezer's useless. He's a liability. No, you're talking absolute nonsense. This same geezer pulled off absolute weldies to get us in, to keep us in that title fight last season. Yes, it's tough for him. It's tough for any goalkeeper. It's a completely different position to anywhere else. It cannot be compared to anywhere else. I know Mikel Arteta keeps talking about any other position on the pitch. We just change it. It's different. You don't change your goalkeepers like that. It just doesn't happen.
It's small margins, isn't it?
The only thing I can see is what's good. What's good is the defense works with both of them. That plays in our favour because you'll find that there's some goalkeepers out there the defense just not. It don't click with, but the defense clicks with both of these goalkeepers. It's working. So look, David Raya's doing well. He's looking more confident in goal game by game. So look, he stays in goal. He keeps his shirt. I was never of the opinion that if David Raya makes a mistake, he comes out of goal. I don't think it's fair. And I don't think as a goalkeeper, you need that kind of pressure on you. Like people will say that every other player has it. It's not the same. Please do not compare goalkeepers with any other position on the pitch. It's not the same.
Do you think Mikel Arteta, he's brought him in for a reason, isn't he? Mm-hmm. You know, he's brought David Raya in for a reason. Now, me not being a goalkeeper, you can answer this better question. For me, he's brought it in. If I had to put my hat on it, I would say he's been brought in because he's better. He feels that he's better with him than his feet. He can distribute the ball, better than what Ramsdale can. And I've got the funny feeling, and again, this might be me, that I feel that Arteta feels that maybe Raya's a little bit more professional than Ramsdale, because if Ramsdale is sometimes a little bit, well, they say goalkeepers are mad. I'm not saying you are, Kiss, but they do say Ramsdale is a bit nutty, isn't he? You know, and I never see that interview. I never see that interview. And I was quite surprised when he said, well, I can't concentrate for 90 minutes in the game. I have to go and talk to the crowd. And I can imagine Arteta going, what?
No.
What? I don't think he's going to like that.
I'll get onto that in a sec.
I just think
I'll get onto that in a sec because it's a thing that a lot of people have blown up about.
I'm not saying it would bother me. I'm not saying it would bother me. I'm saying knowing Mikel Arteta's character and the way he is, I'm looking at him looking at that and him thinking, I'm Mr. Professional. Everybody must be doing things totally 100%. No 99.99%. I want a goalkeeper who's 100. And yes, I feel Raya's a little bit more professional, a little bit better, more of his feet. I want to keep, possession at the back more, a lot more. I want us to be more solid from the back and not lose the ball. And I just feel that that's not, those things have sort of not helped Ramsdale. Maybe not. It's just
maybe I personally can't speak for Mikel Arteta on that situation there. For me personally, I don't think what he does there impacts his game in terms of I think before this interview, before any sort of talk of Raya coming in, would you have looked at Aaron Ramsdale's joking with the crowd, getting involved in that,
no,
and looked at how he plays and gone, that's an impact in his game? I don't think he needs to stop doing that. Maybe you might have thought he's getting a bit too cocky. I know some people have said that, and he needs to sort of rein it in a little bit, take it a step back. But the interaction between the crowd, no. And I'll tell you why. Because for me, when I was playing, that interaction with the crowd is what's getting me going. That interaction with the crowd in what's hyping me up, because I guarantee people behind me is telling me how rubbish I am. If a goal's gone in, they're going to be reminding me of it, all of that. And when you get it in, because I was a player that if I'm having a good training session, I'm telling people, come on, let's go. You ain't scoring today. It don't matter. So sometimes it's part of people's game. Like if a striker's running towards me and I make a one-on-one save about it, I'm nibbling in his ear. I'm saying something to him. That's a part of my game. That's a part of Aaron Ramsdale's game, and you can't take that away. The interview that I saw yesterday, yeah, it may surprise some people, but I don't think that what he said is anything wrong, because everyone does. There is no way players in the Premier League are fully concentrated on the game for 90 minutes. To concentrate on something solely for 90 minutes without losing any concentration whatsoever is very, very tough. So for Aaron Ramsdale to have a technique to make sure he stays focused in the game, for me, shows a level of professionalism that people aren't even contemplating when they heard him say that. The automatic response was all straight away, he's not focusing on the game. How's this happened? How's that happened? When it should be, he's very self-aware of his shortcomings. So he knows that if he's just trying to watch a game, he's probably, and it could literally be like, oh my God, I'm losing focus. I'm looking. So what do? There. It's things like that that's going to keep you there. I used to do things which was stretching, keeping warm. That was what kept me focused. Like little things like that. Or making sure I'm constantly talking to our players. And it don't even matter where I'm not just talking to the defence, I'm talking to the centre forwards, I'm talking to the wingers. That was how I could keep concentrating the game and focusing the game. If I didn't do that, you drift off. It's because you're sitting there, you're standing, watching the game from outside of view. So, and one more last thing I would say is all these things Aaron Ramsdale has been doing for the last 3 seasons for Arsenal. There's not been a game that I can remember where Aaron Ramsdale has had nothing to do, has had to pull off a worldie in the 70th minute and it's gone in, based on the fact that he's done nothing for the full game and then goals have gone in because he's not got any concentration. So I think that what he's doing, yes, it surprises people, but I think that we ask for footballers to be honest, and when we get it, we're shocked and we respond as we do, and it only pushes them further away into the darkness and not say anything. And I think the same goes for managers. We ask for managers to be passionate and show that they care. And then when you've got Mikel Arteta walking up the sideline shouting his players instructions, they tend him to be more like Ange and be quiet and sit in his seat now. And they're praising how composed managers are when they don't say anything. Whereas when it was Arsene Wenger, it was a problem. It's just, there's always something. They always want something, and then when they get it, they don't want it. So, look, does Aaron Ramsdale need to be quiet? I say no, because it's who he is. His dad probably needs to be quiet and let Aaron Ramsdale do the talking himself. And if his dad is going to talk, he needs to do the standard cliche lines. No one's looking for anything exciting for you, Papa Ramsdale. We don't want the big headlines from you. Just do the cliche. Aaron's knuckling down. He's cracking on. He's ready for when his opportunity comes. He's fully focused on Arsenal. Just the standard lines. Those are the kind of lines that will have Arsenal fans hyped. We're not taking sides. Everyone's still fully behind Aaron Ramsdale, and we're commended him for being a model professional and keeping quiet. So, yeah, that's my views. Melvin, what was your thoughts on what Aaron Ramsdale said on the podcast with Ian Wright?
Well, I thought it was okay. It was fine. It was, the good thing is, the only thing positive I could take out of it, it keeps people forget about Aaron Ramsdale. So it puts his name in the spotlight again, and it puts pressure on the goalkeeper, right, to play well. I just think he's being treated harshly. That's all. I don't think you can point the finger at him and say it's because of him we didn't do this or didn't do that. I think he did have his moments where he let in goals. I mean, the Southampton goal was an absolute nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
So, the goalkeeper do that. And I think some of his kick, when he releases the ball sometimes, is not great. But at the end of the day, I'm so glad we had him in goal for the last two odd years. He's been brilliant. So I think it's been harshly treated, and at the moment, I can't see a way back for him unless there's an injury, which I don't want any Arsenal player to get, because I don't think Raya has actually been pulling up trees, to be honest with you. And I didn't see the game live, the Newcastle game, because I had to go somewhere. I saw the first 20 minutes, and then I heard we got beat. I had all Arsenal supporters around me. We were at a party, and basically everyone, Kieran, moaning about was it a push? Was it off the park about the Newcastle goal? And a non-Arsenal supporter said to me the other day, "What's the matter with you? What about the goalkeeper?" That's what I mean. Have you not noticed where the goalkeeper was? And I didn't notice it. I'll be honest with you. I was so telescoped.
It was too far his front post. I said it straight away. I didn't say it on the pod because I don't want to throw any negativity on the goalkeeper, especially when it's like it is with Aaron Ramsdale. But I was all over my WhatsApp going mental because he's rushed too far forward at the front post there. His positioning wasn't good at all. If he takes a step back, which is what he's trained to do, he takes a step back so he can attack it more rather than being underneath it, then he might be able to get a finger on it, a hand on it, a fist on it, something just to knock it off out the path of Joe Linton's head or Gabriel's head. He will look back at that and know that his positioning was not good there. But it's small margins. It's split seconds, isn't it? So, but his positioning should have been better. 100%.
Yeah, I just think it's important to get behind them, isn't it? I just think we got to get behind the goalkeeper because if there was a time when, like Melvin said, he got injured and Ramsdale come in, just like when Ramsdale came in for the game against West Ham and had a bit of a nightmare, never had a good game at all, and probably should have saved that shot. If that was Raya, my God, we'd never have heard the last of it. But this is what's been cooked up now. This is what's been cooked up, by us, well, not us in particular, but Arsenal fans who are now just looking for every single. We can't sit here as you said, instead of having, we can sit here and think, Raya should have had that one, and then we can go on supporting the next one. Unfortunately, we're not getting that now from Arsenal fans. We're getting, it's just that as soon as one of them makes a mistake, their confidence must be so, bad going into games. Well, I don't know. Maybe Raya's got. I don't know. I feel Raya's has made a start. I don't think he lacks confidence, Raya. I think what people have got to understand is that he's being told to do it. I mean, all right, the cross was a thing, but the playing it out from the back and all this nonsense that he looks nervous and all that. I'm not having it for 1 minute. Do you know what I mean? You're going to look nervous if you're playing it between your centre backs and your left backs and your right backs. And if Arteta wants him to do that, which he obviously does, then there's going to be moments in the game where you're going to be, or every now and then there's going to be a ball over it. But he wants to stick with this. He wants to go with this. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we can keep looking at Raya for passes. And to be fair to him, he does not. Again, I'm not saying us, but when Raya does pull off worldies like he did the other night, like he did against Spurs, you know, it does get a little bit lost. And because we've got this thing about Aaron Ramsdale, and I love Aaron Ramsdale, but Raya's our goalkeeper now. He's pulled off some wonderful stays this season, and I'm not one for stats, but you know he's letting less goals than any other goalkeeper in the league. And, and that goes with our defence. So although he's made the odd mistake from the pass out, he's made some hell of a good ones as well. But overall, we're looking stronger at the back. We're looking harder to score against. We're not got spanked. We haven't scored like people scoring threes against us. Man City couldn't break a stand. You know, Man United struggled to break a stand. You know, Tottenham's a derby. It's one of them things. But teams, you know, we used to get like Southampton and thingies getting 2s and 3s against us last season. You know, as the season's going on, we spoke the other day. We're looking harder to score against. So
yeah, I think it's one of them things. Look, because at the same time we're talking about how this team isn't fully flowing, but we've sacrificed some of our attacking play for our defensive play. So at the same time, there's that argument there. Like, look, the Raya argument is not going to go away until
Ramsdale leaves.
No. The Raya argument will go away if he keeps on putting performances like he did the other day. The same way the Leno argument went away when Ramsdale was saving us in games like against Leicester in that first season. People soon forget with good performances. And if Raya keeps putting in good performances like he has in the last game, we can't look at Aaron Ramsdale's mistakes and then pull them up and then not pull up Raya's. Like, it's going to be the same, and we have to accept that. We have to accept that, although we don't want to hear what Raya's made a mistake, people are going to pull it up. It's the same if Declan Rice was to make a mistake. It's the same as Havertz to make a mistake. If people are going to make mistakes, you've got to say something. I agree that the save, because he made 2 very good saves on the weekend.
Yeah, one really good one.
I think people only really mentioned one, and there was actually 2 very, very good saves. But yeah, the Tottenham one, they won't ever miss that one because Aaron Ramsdale was there to give me plaudits as well. So it's a conversation that's not going to go away, unfortunately, Steve. Because it's 2 players who are very, very good, and I think it's also Aaron Ramsdale's personality.
I think it's because he's so likeable, isn't he? Ramsdale's so likeable.
We've got a player in the team who
he's not let us down, is he? He's not let us down.
And you've got a player in the team who, in essence, acted a little bit like a fan. He was excited. He had that. He's got that. He's just a likable person. So it's and no one wants to see him leave. Now, whether Raya's there or not, people don't want to see him leave. They want that fairy tale of that they can fight it out, and we all know that long term.
I think it's inevitable, mate. I think it's inevitable that he leaves. I think
I think talk of a January move is ridiculous.
Not January, no. I think summer. Then I think you can't have those. You can't have two. It's not fair for Ramsdale. Do you know what I mean?
When's the World Cup? When's the next tournament? England tournament?
In the summer, isn't
2 years. 2 years, isn't it?
2 years.
Is it 2 years?
Yeah.
Oh, then he can afford to move this summer then.
Yeah. And good luck to him because he's one. He's got to go. Goalkeepers, like Kieran said, it's totally different position than any other area on the pitch. You can't think, I could play on the right if I want to, or I could play left or right side defence, or I could even play left or right back, or I could be an inverted right. You ain't got to have a goalkeeper. You're either the goalkeeper or you ain't. And when you've got 2 goalkeepers of the ability of Raya and Ramsdale. And look, we all know Raya's Arsenal's number one. We all know it. Everybody knows it. And it's, I'm gutted, but he will be our number one. Arteta wants him to be our number one. And we've got to support him. And I don't know. I felt, we've got to wish Ramsdale his best. And Arsenal fans are thinking that he's going to stay and just help us out. That's not.
He's not gone yet, Steve. He's not gone yet. No one needs to wish him his best. He's not gone yet. He's still here. He's still an Arsenal player.
No, if he goes, you've got to wish him his best, haven't you?
Of course you do. Yeah, can't. But you don't know. We've got to pay another 27 million for Ray. We haven't even bought him yet.
We have bought him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all done. It's all done. It's just
there's obligation.
Right? There's obligation to buy. They've got to buy. They've just had. It's only because of FFP that they've allowed Arsenal for him to play him that they can pay at the end of the year. They've already laid down a fee of 3 million, haven't they? For him, they've already paid that. You've got to pay another 27, and Thomas Frank's already come out and said it's done. The way the deal's been written, it's done. There's no going back. So this is what I mean. I hope he don't go Chelsea. I mean, Kieran's right. Look, he ain't gone yet, but
you never know what's around the corner.
But you don't know. It's right. Nothing ever will surprise me in football. Nothing.
Yeah. No, definitely. No. All right. That is all we have time for. Thank you very much for everyone who's joined us tonight. Very, very good show. Very enjoyed that a lot. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Steve.
Cheers, mate. Pleasure as always.
And it's good to have you back, Melvin.
Yeah, thank you. I had a bit of a knee injury, but I got over it, as you know. So
yeah, that's what he does. He plays for the paint. Bit of a magic sponge will always help anyone.
Cold water down the neck always helps as well.
Yeah, yeah. Make sure that water's clean.
He's our Trossard of the Arsenal show. Just always goes in where it hurts.
All I'm hearing rumours that Santi Cazorla wants to come back and finish his career at Arsenal. It's a bit like Melvin. Finish his career in the Arsenal show. Unbelievable servant for the club. For everyone who's joined us, thank you very much. Hit that like and subscribe, people. Hit that share button and hit the copy button. And if you are regular to the show, make sure you press that like. Peace out, people. Stay safe and wash your hands.